The story begins with a guy waking up in the middle of the street, and the first thing he notices is that the rain feels like it's stabbing his body. Bro is out here getting waterboarded by the weather. He quickly scrambles to take shelter, but the bigger problem is he has no idea where he is or how he ended up here. This poor soul is Jin Kwan, a former member of the Special Forces. The only memory he has left is the nightmare of his team being betrayed, turned into living coordinates for an explosion and blown to bits. In short, man literally rage quit life and got dropped into an isekai, ready to give us another cheap copy off Solo Leveling. His whole body is in pain, but he notices a light shining from a nearby building and assumes someone must be living there. Instead of thinking twice, he just barges in as the main carriage tax exempts him from knocking. Inside, he sees a guy standing suspiciously, veins bulging around his face like he is one sneeze away from exploding. And then it happens. The dude's mouth literally detonates in front of Jin, and he bites the dust on the spot, leaving behind a strange box. Before he can process the nonsense, Jin hears movement from the sewer behind him and someone crying out for their dead brother. The grief echoes, leaving him stunned. Still confused, Jin picks up the box in wonder, but of course he cannot catch a break. Out of nowhere, a group of mysterious masked men pull up. They see Jin holding the box and immediately assume he is trying to rob them. These try to give aura of Akatsuki, but with the intelligence level of background extras, they draw their weapons, declaring that since Jin has seen too much, he is not allowed to leave alive. Jin starts running for his life and dives straight into the sewer, yelling at the stranger inside to let him in, or else he will toss the box and make his brother's sacrifice pointless. This man is trying hard to be Aizen and manipulate her. The sewer door opens and the cloaked figure lets him in. Plot twist, it is not some grizzled veteran but a stunning girl who immediately whips out a gun and demands his identity. She asks what faction he is from and if he killed her brother. Jin, confused as hell, blurts out the truth, that he knows nothing and just wanted shelter. She demands the box her brother died for, and Jin hands it over without a fight. She looks at it, then breaks down crying right in front of a stranger. She curses her brother for giving his life for this random emblem, leaving her alone in a world where everyone is ready to eat each other alive. Jin sees her grief and it triggers his war flashbacks. He remembers the same look in the eyes of refugee girls from his past life who lost everything. They were dragged out of dungeons, freed but not really happy, because rescue meant nothing when they had no one left, only the life to be used as a toy for meanie and dirty men. Trying to console her, he claims she should treat him as a mercenary, her brother hired to protect her, because that is what he would have done. Bro basically wrote himself into the job contract without signing papers. She admits he might be a good person, but then delivers the cold truth. Since he is soaked by the dark rain, his death is guaranteed. She explains that this is the city of the dead, and the dark rain is not acid rain light, it is worse. Once it dries, it becomes straight acid, and for someone drenched head to toe, there is no path except death. Jin's situation is like falling from frying pan to the fire. Jin pulls back in agony and realizes now why he is getting weaker second by second. He inquires about her identity, about this place and those masked guys. She tells him that she is from the third city of the dead, which is the lowest district, and those masked guys are lower district's enforcers, basically budget. Arcane rejects roaming everywhere. They are also magic-type class holders. Jin surprisingly questions what year it is and what is the name of this country, to which she responds that this year is Startscar 1000, and this country is the part of the Flying Eagle Empire. Unfortunately, he has not heard about this country, which confirms his hypothesis that he has been transmigrated to another world. He further asks why she was so afraid of those magical enforcers, and how one can become a class holder. She informs him that anyone can become the class holder as long as they have this emblem she is carrying. She again bursts into crying like a crybaby, telling him that her brother went to steal this emblem for her and never returned. She has no relative in this world, and if she cannot become a class holder, she definitely will not be able to survive. Just then, the enforcers find their location and attack at their entrance. She panics and opens the box to pull out a circular emblem, saying if she does not awaken now, they both are going to die. She presses the emblem on her forehead, but it does not acknowledge her, instantly rejecting her. She explains there are two possibilities for emblem rejection. One is physical rejection, and the other is simply lacking the aptitude to become a class holder. Things get messy when you are already having a bad day. She sinks into despair, calling herself useless, convinced her brother's sacrifice has gone to waste in her hands. Meanwhile, the enforcers break into the sewer and rush forward to finish them. In that desperate moment, she comes up with a reckless plan and suddenly slaps the emblem onto Jin's head. Shockingly, it accepts him and transforms his class into Demon Swordsman. In short, he is Demon Slayer Guy. With this class, he is proficient with every type of sword and instantly awakens Triple S talent. 1 second he was homeless and the next he unlocked solo leveling protagonist mode, looking light version of Song Jinwoo. A glowing panel pops up in front of Jin, and he wonders if these are the rules of this world. The girl nearly jumps with excitement, yelling that he has become a class holder. One of the enforcers tries to act tough, steps forward, and launches a magical attack. Jin casually blocks it with a single slash, like he is Zoro from One Piece. Then he counters with a dark magic strike that shatters their weapons to dust. The girl is frozen in shock at how ridiculously strong he became in an instant, while Jin himself is stunned that the emblem even restored his corroded body. The enforcers cannot believe they are losing to someone who literally just logged in. They start panicking about failing their report, and instead of letting them walk away, Jin sends them flying with a slash so heavy. The girl says they have to leave quickly since Jin just turned the enforcers into confetti, and someone will discover them soon. Jin looks up at the exit like it is Mount Everest and immediately doubts his cardio. Luckily, the girl has already planned ahead. She pulls out a bomb, blasts open a wall, and shows him the hidden stairs that will get them out of here. An hour later, they reach her home. She lets him in, and it turns out to be both a house and a cluttered little shop of instruments. Jin, being socially tone-deaf, blurts out that it must be tough to run this place alone. Bro just picked the worst dialogue option possible. She admits that 2 people used to run it, but now it is just her. Realizing he fumbled, Jin quickly apologizes and says he did not mean to bring up her brother. Man barely avoided the emotional equivalent of a critical hit. Before the awkward silence clears, a gang storms in. Their leader, a smug guy named Wang Ming, demands why she is taking so long to open up shop. He claims her brother had some deal with him, but she knows nothing about it. Without hesitation, Wang Ming orders his lackeys to drag her away. Jin finally steps forward to block them, and Wang Ming asks his identity and courage to meddle in his affairs. Jin ignores the guy's question and instead asks what right he has to take her away. He relies on his class insight ability, which tells him the landlord is actually a good guy deep down. Bro, are you serious? You just watched this man try to kidnap a crying girl, but your magical lie detector says he is wholesome. Trying to cut through the nonsense, Jin asks him what price he has to pay to get her back. Wang Ming, the landlord, suddenly starts talking about pit number 1, which sounds like a death trap mine straight from hell. He explains it is filled with sand-devouring worms, and if Jin goes there, gets what he wants, and comes back alive, only then will he return the girl. So, this dude really said, fetch quest or lose your waifu. Before Jin can process this absurd deal, Wang Ming charges at him with a punch aimed right at his face. Forget negotiations. The landlord went from quest giver to street fighter in 2 seconds flat. The girl tries to stop the duel, warning that her landlord Wang Ming is a tier 2 class holder. He comes in with a fierce punch, but Jin blocks it with a rod charged with his overflowing power. Wang Ming freezes in disbelief, calling it true soul, and wonders aloud if Jin is from the upper city. Man really got parried once and immediately turned into a conspiracy theorist. Jin ignores the question and calmly asks if he qualifies for the mission. Wang Ming smirks and agrees but warns him he is still far from ready, as a rookie who is not even tier 1. He explains that the task involves slaying a resentful spider matriarch and retrieving a flower of clear resentment, which only blooms 3 hours after the creature's death. Jin must bring that flower to the Champs-Élysées Street garrison in the lower district if he wants to exchange it for the girl. The deal is made. Wang Ming adds that every man aged 16 and above in the 3rd city of the dead must report to pit number 1 or face death. He then steps on a frog, leaving it like a squashed tomato, and walks off with his men and Lin Meng. Jin stays behind, piecing things together. He suspects Lin Meng's brother knew he would die in pit number 1 and stole the emblem to protect his sister's future. Still, the timing makes him wonder if this is Wang Ming's scheme all along. With the situation critical, he decides to test his powers. His first talent, the Nether Flame God statue, activates when he shuts his eyes, summoning a demon with mismatched blue and red eyes. The vibe is straight out of Blue Exorcist, only with more edge. He cannot make out the second talent on his panel, but the pressure it gives off is enough to tell him that its power is frightening. Testing his strength, he swings his sword once and the slash rips through the tower in front of him as if it were nothing. Looking into a broken mirror, he sees his new face for the first time. The only thought in his mind is that this appearance feels oddly familiar, yet a soldier from his past life could never have skin so fair and delicate. His name has always been Jin Quan, surname Jin, and given name Quan, but the panel now lists him as 5th Jin Quan, where 5th is treated as a compound surname. The mystery can wait. What matters most is gathering information about this world. Half an hour later, his information gathering turns into partying in a dimly lit club. He leans toward the bartender and asks if the drink is free. The man nods, saying it is because everyone will be heading down to pit number 1 tomorrow. Jin, curious, asks about the pit, and the bartender explains that pit number 1 is a mining site worked by people from the lower district. Down there live the sand-devouring worms, creatures that feast on flesh and blood before digging nests through the soil. The miner's job is to drive these beasts away. The process of worms digging through the sand is called loosening the soil, which makes mining easier afterward. Listening closely, Jin realizes the miners are nothing more than living feeders for the worms. Bartender raises his glass with the Jin, wishing themselves good luck for tomorrow. Lee Hong-yu, the boss of the enforcers, slams his fist on the table and curses his men for losing the emblem. His voice shakes the room as he demands to know where it is. A man with an eye patch steps forward and nervously explains that the one who stole the emblem disappeared without leaving a single trace, and there was no evidence at the scene to prove who he was. As for the accomplice, he escaped through the sewers and even set off a bomb to collapse the tunnel behind him. Hong-yu grits his teeth and orders them to find the culprits by any means necessary. The eye patch man hesitates and says the class emblem is only the size of a golden coin, so hunting it down is like searching for a needle in a haystack. He even adds that someone might have already absorbed it. The moment those words leave his mouth, Hong-yu snaps back and declares that if anyone dares to hold it, they should all be killed one by one, since filthy scum have no right to possess such a treasure. The man with the eye patch still looks uneasy, but a subordinate with glasses coldly tells him to stop questioning and follow their master's command. If this crew were in an anime, they would be the cheap version of the Phantom Troop from Hunter x Hunter, but with less drip and more bad decisions. The man with the eye patch raises another concern. He tells his master that the cities of the dead are scheduled to enter Pit Number 1 tomorrow morning, and if they fail to deliver enough Crimson Blood ore on time, Eagle Legion will punish them severely. Hong-yu responds coldly, saying everyone will be inspected before entering the pit, which means the thief who stole the emblem cannot escape. Morning comes, and the scene is grim. People shove each other like cattle, desperate yet resigned, as they scramble onto buses headed straight for their deathbeds. Hong-yu appears at the site, his presence enough to freeze the crowd. He orders his men to inspect every person carefully and warns them not to let a single one slip through. The man with the eye patch brings out a machine called the Scavenger B2, a device capable of detecting spiritual energy. It is designed to sound an alarm the instant it senses an emblem. The crowd looks uneasy as the device hums to life, the tension building with every second. The guards are the usual power drop types you see in almost every anime, picking on orphans just you see in every anime. One of them shoves Jin into the overcrowded mob, where people are already clawing at each other to get on the bus. In the chaos, Jin spots a shady guy clutching something that radiates pure malice. The aura is so heavy that it literally suffocates two bystanders until they collapse dead on the spot. As people panic, one man shouts that there is no room left on the bus, but the guards are not here for negotiations. They whip out their guns and order everyone to raise their hands. That is when Hong-yu steps forward, all smug, declaring that the young master lost something valuable in the lower district yesterday and asks whoever has it to return it. Jin instantly knows he means the emblem because, let's be honest, there is no way this is just a coincidence. Since nobody confesses, the guy with the eye patch releases his little toy, a spider-like drone that scuttles into the air. It hovers above the crowd, scanning for spiritual energy, mimicking a creepy drone version of Neji's Byakugan. As it creeps over Jin, his chest tightens and he feels his heart in his throat, certain the jig is up. But shockingly, the device finds nothing and moves on. It keeps scanning until it locks onto the shady guy, and the alarm goes off before launching a spiky strike at him. Hong-yu storms forward, yelling at him to hand over the emblem. Panicking, the guy flashes a glowing crystal and insists that's all he has. Hong-yu, fuming, smashes it to the ground, shattering it like someone crushing your rejection letter along with your dignity. He orders the spider to keep scanning, but after sweeping the whole area, it reports no anomaly. Losing his patience, Hong-yu curses and storms off to the next bus. The ride begins, and hours later, Jin leans over and asks the guy beside him where they are since the train hasn't stopped once. The man nervously explains that the red light ahead means they're entering pit number 1. The guards have already bailed, which means no one is in charge anymore. He cracks the window, adding that the train runs straight into the core of the pit, and the deeper they go, the nastier the monsters get. Think of it as Made in Abyss, where the danger scale just keeps breaking the charts. Jin decides he's not about to sit around waiting for death and hurls himself out of the moving train. He jumps put of the train and ends up in the area with red crystals that look straight out of Genshin Impact. He dusts himself off, realizing he has no map, no guide, and no clue. Just when he thinks about scouting the area, the sound of footsteps reaches him, and before he can react, a sneak attack comes flying his way. Jin reacts instantly, swinging his sword to counter the sneak attack. He calls out the coward, telling him to stop hiding and face him properly. But villains never want to talk it out, they always pick the worst options. The attacker finally reveals himself, lunges forward, and gets his head slammed into the ground like Jin is reenacting World War III. His skull does not crack, but the message is clear. Jin raises his sword for the finishing blow, and suddenly the guy throws pride out the window, begging for mercy. He blurts out that he only attacked because he has been trapped in the pit for over 10 days, starving to the point of desperation, and he thought killing Jin would put food on his plate. Jin lowers his blade slightly and asks how he even got his hands on an emblem. The man explains that sometimes you can get an emblem by killing monsters, but the chance is extremely rare. The easier method is when spoiled young masters and ladies come to the pit to hunt for fun. They throw these things away because they do not care, but they treat people from the lower district as disposable bait. Unless you are lucky enough to meet a rare, kind-hearted one, survival is nearly impossible. Jin frowns, realizing how rotten this world is. It is less adventure and more Hunger Games Deluxe Edition. Still not done, Jin presses him for advice, asking if there is some kind of strategy guide to survive in the pit. The man shakes his head and says the only method is to find a cave and hide, surviving for 15 days until either the miners return or the nobles show up to play. If not, you are simply marked for death. Jin asks his final question, how to level up. The answer makes his stomach drop. He has to kill the insects, but this is pit number 1, and even the weakest bugs here start at level 11. Just then, Jin notices a monster lurking behind the guy, ready to attack. He pushes him back at the last moment, saving him from certain death. Standing before them is a crimson blood mosquito, level 9 and tier 1. Jin clicks his tongue, saying it has not even been a full minute since he stepped into this pit, and already the insect density is this high. The coward bolts in panic, screaming that if they do not run now, they will surely die. Jin, however, just swings his sword once and cuts the creature clean in half, scoffing that while the monster may be tough, his talent is far greater. What talent though? He just got it by pure luck. The cowardly guy returns, wide-eyed at Jin's strength. He falls to his knees, begging to become his underling, willing to work like a horse or an ox just to stay alive. Jin rejects him outright, saying he does not want to carry dead weight, and his words stab him as his crush just rejected him. But the pit is relentless. A portal tears open behind them, and out crawls a crystal ore bug, level 15 and tier 1. Its body is taller than an attack titan, and its jagged shell looks tougher than solid boulders. It lashes out, forcing Jin to dodge, but this time the coward guy is too slow and takes the hit head on. The bug then shifts its focus to Jin, charging with brutal speed. Jin clenches his sword, unleashing his ultimate talent as a dark, devilish energy surges through him. His speed skyrockets, faster than Zenitsu blitzing demons in Demon Slayer, and he leaps forward for a crushing counterattack. He swings his sword once and slices the spider clean in half, which shows has been drilling dungeons longer than Sung Jinwoo, even though it's his fifth time in dungeon. A glowing panel flashes before him, congratulating him for defeating the crystal ore bug. His level shoots up instantly to 6, leaving him stunned. Jin starts piecing things together, guessing that the rules of this world work like a game. The bigger the level gap between him and the monster, the higher the chance of rare loot dropping. Disgusted but determined, he thrusts his hand into the slimy remains of the bug and pulls out an equipment emblem. It turns out to be crystal ore heavy armor that boosts defensive power. He tries to equip it by pressing it to his forehead, but it rejects him for being too low level. He is shocked, but he quickly realizes survival matters more than fashion right now, so he presses onward to explore the area. After moving a short distance, he suddenly finds himself surrounded by countless crystal ore bugs swarming to devour him. Instead of panicking, Jin smirks like every cocky protagonist and calls it the perfect chance to grind levels. Fired up, he unleashes a frenzy of sword strikes, cutting through them one after another until the battlefield is covered in shattered shells. By the end of the slaughter, he secures a new class emblem as a drop item, the Beetle Knight. This class specializes in commanding beetles, boasting high defense and survivability. Realizing there are both class emblems and equipment emblems, he reasons that somewhere out there, a swordsman emblem must exist as well. This pacing is moving so fast, similar to Bleach, where Ichigo keeps getting powerful in every arc. Before he can catch his breath, the ground trembles and the king of the crystal ore bugs emerges. Towering and grotesque, its level reads 25 in tier 2. It immediately spits a torrent of poisonous venom, forcing Jin to dodge at the last second, knowing one slip here could mean instant death. However, he does not keep the cocky attitude this time and admits this monster is going to be a real problem. He is not reckless as Natsu or Naruto charging headfirst into trouble, so he makes the smarter choice to run. As he sprints through the cavern, he notices a pack of dog-faced monsters gathering nearby. Seizing the chance, he changes direction toward them. The king launches another wave of poisonous venom, and though Jin manages to dodge, the blast lands squarely on the dog monsters. Furious at being hit, they turn their rage on the Bug King and attack him in packs. Jin smirks at the chaos, knowing his improvised plan is working. He lets them clash, waiting for the perfect moment to step in and land a decisive blow once both sides are weakened. Seeing their clash as an opening, Jin seizes the moment and lands his final blow on the spider. The monster's body cracks like shattered glass, letting out a piercing roar before finally collapsing. Jin checks his status window and sighs, realizing that even a tier 2 boss takes too much effort to kill. He'll need to level up faster if he wants to survive down here. At least, he has 2 brain cells, working fine. Thankfully, the powers he absorbed from other monsters kept him alive, otherwise he'd have been a corpse long ago. Looking through the loot, he finds 2 equipment emblems, Beetle's Leap and Crystal Ore Staff. Both seem useless for now, so he decides to stash them away for later. Suddenly, a huge blast erupts nearby from inside the wall, startling Jin. He cautiously approaches the spot where a massive hole has opened, revealing the other side. Wondering what just happened, he hears a man's voice from within, shaky and desperate, yelling for something to just die. Jin instantly recognizes the voice and peers inside, spotting a red-haired baddie drenched in monster blood and completely exhausted. The red-haired boy knows that if he remains trapped in there, he'll die sooner or later. Two monstrous bat-like bosses, both level 19, are looking at him menacingly, leaving him with only one choice: defeat them or die trying. He climbs up onto a stone and raises his gun, firing at the monstrous bat circling above. The shots provoke them, and both creatures let out screeching roars before diving toward him. In perfect sync, they release blazing attacks from their mouths, forcing cold sweat down the red-haired boy's neck. He braces himself, ready to fight for his life, when suddenly, a swift figure appears out of nowhere, our hero, Jin, making a perfectly timed entrance as Naruto did when Sakura was calling out his name in Pain Arc. In one fluid motion, Jin slashes through both monsters, cutting them down instantly. The red-haired boy freezes in disbelief, his eyes wide. Stammering, he asks if Jin was really the one who took them down. Jin simply nods with a confident smirk and says it was nothing, as if heroics were just part of his daily routine. They shake hands, and the red-haired boy thanks him sincerely, promising to remember this favor. Just as he offers to help Jin find a way out of the area, something strange catches his eye. The bodies of the fallen bats begin to twist and melt together. His expression shifts as he realizes what's coming. Before they can react, the two monsters fuse into a single, massive bat radiating heat and fury. Its body trembles as fire bursts from its mouth like a living furnace. The creature takes flight in an instant, and both Jin and the red-haired boy barely have time to react before the monstrous bat unleashes a torrent of fire straight toward them. Red Batty plans to hold off the monsters while telling Jin to find a way out. He launches an ice spell that freezes the spreading fire for a moment, buying them some time, but instead of running, Jin has the audacity to ask why they should escape. Red Batty starts sweating in fear and calls him crazy, warning that this boss is several times stronger than any normal one. He insists that if they stay here, they will all die. Jin, however, is overflowing with confidence and rushes straight toward the boss. Even Red Batty is shocked, because he has never seen someone so fearless or ready to die. Jin swings his sword and lands a hit, but it barely affects the creature. The boss lets out a sharp screech in return. Jin does not flinch because he already expected this boss to be much stronger than the rest. He summons his blue-flamed warrior, which charges at the boss and clashes head-on with waves of burning blue light, just like Ren from Blue Exorcist. The warrior keeps fighting fiercely against the bat boss until it finally defeats it with a single, powerful strike. Red Batty stands frozen, unable to believe what he just witnessed. He recognizes those blue flames and wonders how that power has returned when the Tianqi Empire's legion once wiped out that entire family, leaving only the women alive. It makes him question how a descendant could still exist. Jin checks his screen and notices that he has reached level 15. He studies his stats and realizes that leveling up is getting slower now since defeating 3 bosses and hundreds of bats only earned him 4 levels. Red Batty walks up to Jin and thanks him for saving his life. Out of curiosity, Jin asks if he is a class holder or just a normal person. Batty lets out a tired sigh and admits that he used to be a class holder, but he was tricked and turned into a regular person. Now, he is barely surviving with the weapon he has. Jin is stunned to hear that such a thing is even possible, that someone can be stripped of their class and turn normal again. Batty shakes his head and tells him it is not as simple as it sounds. He might be the only person alive who has gone through that and survived. Deep within the abyss, there is a deadly poison known as the Death God's Flower. Its lethal effect is to corrupt a class holder's emblem, forcing their power to regress to that of an ordinary human before the poison's true strength bursts out. Batty explains that he was the only one in his family who could not awaken a talent, yet as the eldest son, he inherited a powerful class emblem. Listening to him, Jin can already imagine the whole royal drama playing out, with noble sons fighting for the throne, and Red Batty being the dethroned crown prince. But then Batty looks at Jin and says that he is one of his kind. Jin does not understand what he means by that, so Batty explains that he thought Jin's family had long gone extinct and never expected a survivor like him to still exist. He laughs quietly, picturing the shock on the faces of the Tianqi Empire when they see Jin someday. Jin is taken aback that Batty somehow knows his background. Batty goes on to explain that over 1,000 years ago, a pioneer awakened an SSS-ranked talent and, at the same time, obtained a legendary class known as the Holy Light Knight. Both monsters and class holders struggled to face him in battle. His name was Fifth Qingxuan, and the talent he awakened was called the Nether Flamed God statue. Jin is stunned to realize he carries such a bloodline in this world, but he still does not understand what Batty meant by extinct. Red Batty keeps talking and says he has no intention of getting involved in anything related to the Tianqi Empire. He then boldly claims that his family has been a disappointment for centuries, since not a single member has awakened an SSS-ranked talent in hundreds of years. Even the current clan leader only has an S-rank statue. Jin stands there speechless and a little flustered, unsure how to respond to that. Out of nowhere, the defeated Bat Boss drops an equipment emblem called the Bat King's Blade embroidered saber. It flies straight into Jin's hand and transforms into a sleek sword with a hilt shaped like a bat's wing, similar to Rengoku's blade marked with fiery patterns. Jin inspects it and notes that it feels great, almost as strong as his previous weapon, though it would be even better if he could fuse it. He tests its power by swinging it toward a nearby rock, which shatters instantly,